everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talking Tuong, the weekly quarantine show where I get to talk to my friends near and far to talk about the pop culture news that matters, but also movies. And you know what? It's October now, and the Spookening has begun in the PodCavern. And I have the spookiest guest to kick off the month. We have Kyle Jones.
Hey, what's going on?
Kyle, it's been so long since we've last talked. We were just talking before we recorded that it's been, I don't know, 2 years or so.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, and since then you've become, like, I've heard, half ghost, half werewolf. How did that happen?
Basically, I ate some expired food in my fridge. I thought I would chance it, but didn't work out too well.
It didn't work out. You were too lazy to buy food at the grocery store, which is just a block down, and you just decided to risk it.
Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to go those 2 blocks. I figured it would be better for me if I just took a chance on this moldy food in my fridge.
How is werewolf life? Is it tough to get used to the full moon?
Yeah, so the other night was a bit tricky with the very first full moon of October, and plus there's hair everywhere now.
Damn it. So, like, you're basically a walking dog here, just shedding all over the place. People don't want you in their grocery stores, not because you'll bite them, but mostly because you'll shed everywhere, and that's just too much work for the janitorial services.
Exactly. It's a nuisance on society.
Well, Kyle, we're happy to have you in the PodCavern, and luckily it's all remote, so you don't have to actually step foot in here. So we're happy to have you, but just please don't transform during mid-show. It'd be very hard to record you.
I'll try my best.
Kyle, what have you been doing besides, eating expired food to keep yourself happy in quarantine? And you know what? Just tell us who you are, because it's been a very, very long time since you've been in the PodCavern at all. I think, like, basically episode 1 of Ranked, I think was the first time and possibly the last time. Not that it's been like, oh, let's ban Kyle, but
didn't go over too well.
It was a fun podcast, although it's probably not doesn't age up too well these days.
No.
No. I specifically remember some bad Amy Adams talk by a different guest. So
I do recall that.
Yeah, everybody does. People just don't listen to that episode. I would recommend. Not because of Kyle, but Kyle, can you just tell us who you are and what you've been doing?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me.
Of course.
And yeah, so my name's Kyle. I've been working from home since March for the city of Ottawa. And basically, I haven't been doing a whole lot. I've just been running a lot.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Getting into shape.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm still not at the point where I enjoy it yet, but I still just go out, or else just eating expired moldy food will just make me huge.
Yeah, of course.
And
So if you haven't liked it for real for 6 months, like, does anyone truly like running? Like, I tried running for quite a long time. I was in, like, cross country. I was one of those people who did, like, sprinting for, like, track and fields, but I always kind of hated it. So I stopped.
I honestly don't know, because it's the same thing over and over again, but yet we all still do it, which
hurts your feet afterwards. You're panting like crazy.
It's funny enough, I have this little ice pack on my foot right now because I overdid it a few weeks ago, and
oh god.
So it's pretty much better now, but I still just put the ice pack on my foot. I don't know, it just helps. And but shows what I get for trying to stay healthy.
Let that be a warning at home, everyone. Exercise, no bueno, at least for running. Kyle, have you been, like, doing any, like, gaming or just...
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot. Actually, on Friday, I bought the new Star Wars Squadron game for the VR on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And it is actually really fun. I was probably up till 1 a.m. this morning, just playing it in my living room. And,
In VR. That's
yeah,
amazing.
and it, yeah, I just got really into it, and yeah, it's a ton of fun. And
Sweet. Yeah.
I've been playing the remastered Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard that's very, very good. Have you been, is it scratch all the feels of the old Tony Hawk games? Does it make you want to skateboard?
yeah, even though I never skateboarded in my life, it does give me a bit of an urge to hop on a board and most likely hurt myself. Uh,
Well, if you can hurt yourself running, then I'd probably recommend you not try skateboarding at your age.
yeah, I probably will not. That ship has sailed for me, I think.
Yeah, it's all it's funny. I mean, like it's fine, but like I always find a funny imagery seeing like older people, let's say like 45, 50 years old, on a longboard just gunning it through the streets. I don't know why. That's just a funny image to me, but that's how I view you in 10 years, Kyle.
Just basically that Steve Buscemi meme. It's like, how do you do, fellow kids?
Exactly. Yeah. You are the Steve Buscemi of the PodCavern for sure.
Exactly.
All right, Kyle, let's do it. Let's get into the news of the week. All right. So here are some IGN random headlines that I pulled. And let's see here what we have. How do we kick things off? How do you feel about Resident Evil?
I like it. It's been ages since I played it or seen any of the movies, but uh, I like it.
Well, here's your chance to watch an animated CG version on Netflix coming sometime next year.
Oh wow.
Does that do anything for you?
Yeah, I'd check that out.
I like spooky stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's very fitting for the spookening in the pod cavern. What else is spooky? We have, well, maybe not spooky at all, but David Goyer, who's the writer and co-writer for films such as Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, will be executive producer for a podcast for Spotify, something called Batman Unburied. So it's an audio drama that will explore the darker aspects of Bruce Wayne's psychology. How's that sound to you?
Oh, that sounds awesome. So it's basically they're like telling stories on this podcast of
Yeah, I don't know if you ever checked it out, but like, it's such a popular medium these days. I mean, podcasting is so popular. We're doing one right now, but I mean, like a lot of narrative podcasts are coming out. So like there was a Wolverine podcast, I forget the full name of it, where it's like you get into the mind of it's basically an audiobook, but in the
okay.
format of a podcast.
Oh yeah, I've never really considered that idea for a podcast, but
Yeah, they're cool. The only thing it's odd. I mean, like I feel the same way about audiobooks, but it's kind of like I listen to podcasts in such a way that I can do other stuff while I'm listening to podcasts. So if I don't get every single word of it, it's like sweet, I can move on. But with like audiobook versions or those like really story heavy podcasts, it's like super hard to pay attention to the entire thing and multitask.
yeah, I find I have that issue too because when I'm working from home, I'll usually have a podcast going, and I mean I'm listening to the podcast, but I'm not like really listening to it. So they could be it's more just kind of filler noise in the background, and
Totally.
I do like I mean I do get most of it, but uh, I'm not not physically, but not actively
You're
listening.
mentally not there.
Yeah, it's just something just to have on, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for sure.
I'll sometimes listen to these true crime podcasts, and I'll get about halfway through, and I'll zone back in, and I'm
And then
thinking,
you miss the entire crime.
yeah, I'm like, wait, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do my best with the audiobook format, but like I would check this out because we love Batman. We love
Oh,
Batman in the Pod Cavern.
for sure.
How do you love The Rock? Dwayne Johnson, The Rock?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of more in your face now, or just kind of all over the place.
Uh-huh.
Like social media wise, His
I
presence
mean,
is everywhere.
he's just such a positive guy. If anyone's going to be in your face, I'm happy it's Dwayne the Rock
Oh
Johnson, I
yeah,
guess.
I have
Yeah.
I have no issues with him. I like him. But yeah, he's very positive guy.
How many punches would you think it'd take for him to like knock you out?
Oh, easily just one.
I would say for me, it'd be like the second before it hits me, I would already pass out
Oh
because,
yeah, I'd probably just faint
yeah, it's like,
as he
no, it's,
winds up.
exactly. It's like, it's not worth it to like, I better shut my brain down now because the full force of this is not going to be good.
Yeah, I can
Um,
just see his fist just going straight through my face.
he's actually getting an NBC sitcom.
Oh
It's
really?
like an upcoming comedy series. Yeah, he's getting three actors who
Oh
have been
wait,
cast already
yeah,
to portray various stages of his life.
I did hear about that, or I actually saw him post about it on Instagram.
Yeah, he has Adrian Grew, who has been given the role of a 10-year-old little Dewey Johnson. We have Bradley Constant, who has been tapped to play a 15-year-old version of The Rock, and Marco Polo star Yuli Letu. I'm gonna fuck this up. Yuli Latukefu.
Oh,
Latukefu has been
that's
cast
funny.
to play Johnson at 20 years old.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, pretty cool. And I mean, man, he's just everywhere. But like, I would watch that. I would watch that.
I wonder if they'll get into his time he spent in the CFL with the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah, it actually says that when he was playing football on a scholarship at the University of Miami, that's what the older actor will be exploring. So,
Oh, that's sweet.
yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
Is it
And
comedy or drama or a bit of both?
it's a comedy series, so I assume it's like a 20-minute type of like, just you know, based on his life, but not always completely accurate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We have Miss Marvel has a newcomer in the cast here. So Miss Marvel was slated to be a Disney Plus series, and it still is. And we have Iman Vellani, who will be playing Kamala Khan, who's been very, very popular in this last couple of years, especially this year because the Avengers game came out, which I heard was meh, but everyone liked Kamala Khan. And yeah, she's like she's just an up and comer. I think she's a pretty young. I think she's like 18, but I could be wrong on that. And she's just she is also a cinematographer. She had a short video on Vimeo, which gained a lot of traction. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that earlier this week. So you said it's a series on Disney Plus.
Yeah, so that hasn't kicked off yet. I mean, it should have by now, but COVID. So
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see when that actually
shit
happens. But
happens.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of COVID and pushing through it, Borat 2.
Yeah, I saw the trailer the other day.
All right, give me your thoughts.
I mean, I think it's going to be hilarious because I guess the plot basically is everyone recognizes him from the fame of the first movie. So,
Hmm.
and so he has to wear all these disguises. Uh, and I didn't get the entire plot of what the movie's about, but I
Yeah.
don't really need much convincing to watch it. Plus, it's coming out on Prime, so I could watch it right on my couch.
Oh yeah, I think it's been great. And like the full title is Borat Gift. All right, it's very long. Borat Gift of Pornographic Monkey to Vice Premier Michael Pence to make a benefit recently diminished nation of Kazakhstan. Full
That-
title. There you go.
That's quite the title.
Yeah, October 23rd on Prime, so that's pretty sweet. And like obviously it's very kind of strategically timed before the election is kind of the deal. Sacha Baron Cohen is famously rips into politics, especially rip into Trump supporters and stuff like that in his own kind of weird ways. And Borat seems to be, I mean, Michael Pence is in the title of the name,
Yeah,
so I'm sure he'll be really going hard on that.
I wonder how all the Trump supporters that love Borat will feel about this one.
We'll see, man. I feel like, not to get into politics because we hate doing that on this show,
Oh
but
yeah,
I feel like they'll get the wrong message out of it. You know, the people who watch Wolf of Wall Street and think it's a good idea to be like really broy and do exactly like Leonardo DiCaprio
Yeah.
and like Jonah Hill in that movie. I think it'd be something like that where they kind of miss the point of that movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Jamie Foxx is reprising his role as Electro for the MCU. So he was playing Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a garbage film, but he's coming back for Electro in like a Tom Holland movie.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, I wonder. Well, obviously they probably won't, but it's. I was just thinking how it'd be funny if he acknowledges that Spider-Man looks different now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know because like in his tweet, this was seconds before we started the show. He wrote something like this. He wrote, or tell Spidey, let's run it back. Super excited to be part of the new Marvel Spider-Man new installment. Can't wait for y'all to check the new one. And I won't be blue in this one, but 1,000% badass. So there you go. Little shade to the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
that movie, it was bad.
Yeah, I wasn't really a really big fan of the Garfield or Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. I mean, they weren't horrible, but
no, they weren't horrible. No, they weren't. You're right. Like he was a pretty good Peter Parker, but he's too handsome. Too handsome. Yeah. Which brings me back to another point is Spider-Man Remastered for the PS5 is getting a new facelift for the remastered version. They kind of replaced the face model, and people are completely up in arms about it. Did you see this?
No, I did not. So
okay. Did you ever play Spider-Man for the PS4?
Oh yeah, I got it a few weeks after it came out. I was waiting to see what the reviews were like before I dropped like $80 or whatever a PS4 game costs these days.
Yeah. Well, the original game had like an amazing like body capture, facial capture, and it looked just so good. It was such an amazing thing. And the remastered version, they changed his face entirely, and the reason is to make it, suit the voice actor more. And a lot of people kind of alluded to that, like he looks more like Tom Holland now, and they don't like the changes. And I don't like it either, but it seems like the Last of Us type of situation where people get so angry about like a very, very, very minor thing that they're starting to send death threats to the studio.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's awful.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I didn't have an issue with how Spider-Man looked in the game, but I mean, I'm not about to send a death threat to the studio because they made a slight change, like you said. I mean, I guess.
I mean, they changed his face, like, and this is going to be ongoing series and universe for that they're building. So let them do what they want to do. Like, whatever, who cares? Like, I don't love it, but I'll probably get used to it very quickly. So it's okay.
Yeah, you probably won't even notice it after 5 minutes.
Exactly. So people, just like The Last of Us, like, just don't do that shit. Like, don't send death threats to the people who make the stuff that you enjoy.
Find something else to put your passion behind.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, what? Come on. Just a couple more news stories here. We have Steve from Minecraft is joining Smash Bros. Ultimate. Ooh. Did you ever play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Not Ultimate, but I played the original one a lot on the N64.
Oh, so you're that retro. Okay.
Yeah.
How about Minecraft? Do you care about Minecraft?
I am indifferent about Minecraft. I've never played it, but
I also never played it. So when this news hit, I'm like, cool, this makes sense. But it's all Nintendo fans, Kyle. I'm not sure if you follow them either. You probably don't. But on Twitter, they are also the worst. And they also send a lot of threats to people when they don't get their way. They're like, oh my God, why did you go with Steve from Minecraft? Why'd you go with this character for one of the most popular games of all time in this game? It's insane.
Yeah, again, I have no idea why they would want to send threats like that. I mean, I would think more characters, the better, but
yeah,
I mean,
well,
that's just me.
Mostly it's not the character that they want right now kind of thing. You can't please everyone. That's kind of the thing. Yeah.
But I'm sure there's thousands of Minecraft fans that are beyond
yeah.
like about that.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I love Super Smash Brothers, but it's for kids, right? Like, I mean, there's a big
Yes,
adult,
for kids,
like
in
people
air
who grew
quotes.
up with it, who play it competitively and like do all this. Like, I love Super Smash Brothers, but at the end of the day, you gotta get the kid market. That's where video games are for. Like,
Yeah.
that's how you get the money. You get your parents to buy you the video games. Easy. So having Steve from Minecraft on it, like, think of the sales on that. Like, it just business wise makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. One more story here is we have actually I get two. So one of them is, do you know the Lion King remake is getting somewhat of a sequel?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, it got mixed reviews when it came out. I thought it was fine, but it was basically the entire animated version, but live action again, and maybe not as good. But I still like it. I was like, it's fine. I like Lion King,
Yeah.
but they are making a sequel to it, and it's not Lion King 2. It's kind of like a Mufasa origin story directed by the guy that wrote Moonlight.
Okay.
We are talking about Barry Jenkins, so he's going to be at the helm for this Mufasa origin story. Did you ever care about Mufasa's origin?
Not really, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'll still probably watch it. I just know little to nothing about it.
I just want to see like a teenage Rafiki, in his rebellious stage, hanging out with Mufasa.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Like them having a beer together or doing like keg stands
Yeah,
on Pride Rock, or like just graffitiing Pride Rock
yeah,
or something.
I'd watch
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Or like Rafiki like practicing like holding animals very high on Pride Rock and just like tossing them off.
Just like Gronk spiking the animal.
Yeah. Last news is Cobra Kai is getting a season 3. We already knew this, but it's coming out in January, and they've already been greenlit for season 4. We did an episode on Cobra Kai like maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was talking about how it's like one of the most surprisingly great shows that has come out in a very long time, that we didn't have access to because I never would pay for YouTube Red. And then when I saw it on Netflix, I was like, I got to check this out. And then I watched and I was like, oh my God, this is freaking awesome. Did you ever watch Cobra Kai?
I actually finished it last week.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yep.
Quick talk, just quick feelers. How'd you feel about the show?
So I was skeptical at first because I remember seeing it and I thought it looked cheesy. And then my brother texted me saying, I need to watch Cobra Kai. Then 2 days later, I saw that you did the review of the show. I'm like, okay, I need to give this a shot. And I remember the first night I started watching it, I watched 9 episodes in a row.
Oh shit!
And I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I mean, it was kind of cheesy at times, but it had that 80s
right
80s vibe to it, and
yeah, it's the right type of cheesy. Like, it is cheesy, like that's what Karate Kid is, right?
Yeah.
Like, but it's cheesy, but it's also good at the same time, and they toe that line so fucking well.
Yeah, and Johnny was cracking me up. He was hilarious.
I'm very happy to find another Cobra Kai fan, because like I keep telling people to watch and they're like meh, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, so because good. I mean, I was one of those people. My brother didn't text me and I didn't see you post about it, I most likely would never have watched it, just because it doesn't really, I don't know, it didn't have much of an appeal to me to watch when I saw it on Netflix, but I'm very glad I did give it.
Amazing. Well, that's pretty awesome. I'm very happy you liked it. But hey, you know what? We're going to talk about a movie that you may have liked in the movie of the week. Kyle, for our first spookening of Talking Tongue, can you explain what movie we're watching this week, or that we did watch this week, and why you chose it?
So we watched Cargo.
This way. We gotta find the clever man. If you're sick, he can give you good medicine.
If I don't make it to the hills, you're all I've got.
You can't lose hope.
Only girl you need to be worried about is your own.
We're here. So when things get back to normal, it's not gonna happen, is it?
I don't think normal's on the horizon.
It's a Netflix film that was made in 2017, I believe.
Yep.
And essentially, it's a post-apocalyptic world in Australia, or kind of in the outback in Australia, I'll say. And basically, there's this virus that has happened. I don't believe they went into the origins of the virus, but basically it turns people into rage zombies, essentially. And basically it's about a man and his wife and daughter, infant daughter, trying to survive this. And basically we picked this because obviously it's not
It's a spookening.
Yeah, it's not a full-blown horror movie, but it fits the theme for this month. And I watched the preview for about 20 seconds of it on Netflix, and I was like, okay, I've seen enough. This looks good. And
Right. Well, your original pick was the Adam Sandler one, but it didn't come out yet.
Right, yeah, I think that comes out Wednesday of next week.
Oh, missed opportunity. But hey, you know what? How about you tell me, were you glad that you watched Cargo? Like, how did you feel about it? Just general feelers here.
Yeah, I liked it. Obviously, just going into a movie fresh, I knew it was a post-apocalyptic world, but I wasn't exactly sure what the kind of the apocalypse factor was with it. And then it was eventually you realize it's zombies. So I wasn't sure where it was going at the start, but I had a feeling it was going to be zombies. But I originally thought from the preview that you can see the indigenous people in the trailer, and what they look like to be fighting some of these zombies. So I thought it was kind of like a John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
It's a bit of a throwback. It's not a great movie, but it's it's decent. But basically, I thought these people were some cult, and it was this cult taking over, but that wasn't the case, and they were just indigenous tribes in the outback in Australia. But yeah, overall, I liked it. It was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I also, okay. So full disclosure, like I watched it like in like 4 parts this week, maybe 5, because we just got a dog last week.
Yeah, I saw
and it's
that.
been like, it's been
or she looks very cute.
Yeah, Captain Meatball, he's a very, very cute rescue dog, but I mean, he's very fresh and untrained. So it's been a week long of training him, and Laura's been super busy at work. So it's been a lot of me training him from day to night kind of thing. Wake up at 7, and then 11 o'clock, it's just like go, 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 like trying to also do my day job at the exact same time.
Yeah.
It's been very hard to like turn on the TV and be like, oh, here we go. He needs attention. Time to train the dog. Got to pause the movie.
Oh yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. But that said, like from what I gathered, like that's the problem is like, I think I would have liked this movie more if I was able to give it its full attention. But with that said, I still really enjoyed it. Like it didn't blow me away, but it was a very fresh take on the zombie genre, because it's not focused on zombies at all. I would say like the zombies exist in this world, and they don't go into this whole like, oh, you're bit, and like, you know, like a whole like crazy zombie sequence where like I guess like a bunch are chasing after you and all this stuff. It's very more muted, I would say. It's more character driven between the people, which, you know, in a lot of cases is the more interesting parts of zombie post-apocalyptic stuff, where it's the people that are like the danger of other people that is more scary than the zombies.
And the zombies are just kind of a back burner.
Yeah, but it's not only just like betrayal and all this other stuff, because that's, a big part of like, oh, the other coin of zombie movies is like, oh, humans are more dangerous. It's not just that. It's more like those quieter moments that they explore in the zombie universe of like relationships between like father daughter or father and wife, or husband and wife, and like just the small relationships between like strangers to each other and how they
Yeah,
navigate this world. And then there's the indigenous tribe, whole area of it where that's a whole different discussion, I guess, where they are kind of doing better for themselves. The indigenous tribes are like
yeah,
kind of navigating through the whole zombie apocalypse way better. They're better at fending off these zombies. They are better at like being communal. And there's like, even, I'm going to spoil the movie, but like at the very end, they're all very happy together.
yeah,
They found happiness in like a pretty big community, and the only people who are struggling are the people who are I don't know, stuck in the old ways, I guess.
yeah. They're basically the people that are used to all the technology and all the modern stuff, and when all that goes out the window, yeah, it's the indigenous tribe who are using their traditional ways and are much better off.
Yeah. How did you just curious, how did you like the zombification of them? Is like they put on like basically a Fitbit that says, hey, you're gonna turn in like in like 3 days or whatever.
I thought that was actually very cool because I don't think I've seen that in any other zombie movie, and it is kind of a good idea. It's
Isn't it? It's kind of like you have X amount of time to turn, and it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
it's like, all right, gotta take on my to-do list and see what I can knock off in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, if you had 48 hours, what would you do before you zombified?
That's a good question. Um, So
Cancel your credit cards. You
yeah,
call
and
all your companies and be like, all right, just finish your taxes early.
yeah, maybe just go on like a 2-day bender. Just spend
You could, yeah, do all that stuff too. Just
yeah,
drink Riot Punch till you zombify entirely.
pretty much. Because if it's also if I'm turning into a zombie, chances are the rest of the world's most likely have it's gone to shit. So it's not like, oh well, I'll go out to the bar or I'll go watch a football game or so, like none of that stuff most likely would be happening.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's tough because like the more closer it is before you turn, the more like weird wax is in your face and stuff, like your eyeballs,
yeah,
like goop is everywhere. You can't see through your mouth. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
yeah, it's that was interesting because yeah, I when you first see his wife turn in, yeah, it looks like she has honey all over her eyes and her mouth, and
Yep,
just
it's true.
looks very
And
sticky.
I was gonna say when his wife turns, and it's like I feel like that's maybe there's some stuff that I don't love about this movie. It's like, okay, well, you fridge the wife in this movie. Like she gets introduced and pretty early on it's like, oh, you know what, let's just kill her off kind
Yeah,
of thing. It's like, I don't know if I love it. It's just like, okay, just white man
it's like
savior sort of, and his baby just traveling through Australia, although it gets more interesting like as the ideas move on in the movie. But the setup, I'm just like, I don't know if I love this, because it just seems like, oh, the indigenous tribe, they're all silent, so they make none of the like people of color actors talking and stuff like
yeah,
that, and it's just Martin Freeman. I'm like, I don't know if I love these choices, but it does get better as the movie goes on. But the choice that I was like, oh my god, is like Martin Freeman's character just is so dumb and he's like, okay, just keeps putting his wife back in the car with him, or like traveling his wife, and of course he's gonna get bit.
oh yeah, I remember when he did get bit, and it. I was thinking to myself, I was like, that could have been so easily avoided. And
She gave him so many opportunities to leave.
yeah, and but no, he's gonna keep her right there, and look what happens.
I love the first aid kit that they have in the movie.
Yeah, and
It's essentially just a very quick knife to the head with like a diagram showing how to kill yourself
yeah,
if you're going to turn into a zombie.
And yeah, it's like bury your head in the ground or yeah, just knife yourself.
But it just looks like a first aid kit too, because it comes in one of those boxes and you're like, okay, what kind of like tools do they give you? And it's like, no, they give you just like this diagram and just a quick like 6 steps on like, okay, uncap this thing, put it to your forehead and bop.
Yeah, and you're going.
You're going. What else? Yeah, tell me what else you liked about this movie. Did you like the Toomey character, who was the younger let's see, the younger, like, I don't know how to describe her. She's part of like the indigenous tribe,
Yeah, I
I
know who
suppose.
you're talking about. So yeah, I was kind of getting in ways Last of Us vibes from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just how, like you were saying earlier, like obviously there's zombies in the movie, but they're not the main threat. It's really, like you said, the other humans that are the threat, like in The Last of Us. And
Right.
so when he befriends her, I guess I shouldn't say befriends, but he meets the guy, I believe it was a tow truck or something like that. He rescued who
Right.
was stuck in that hole, and
Vic, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah,
Vic.
some guy who's stuck and he helps him out, that type of stuff.
And so at first you think Vic's a good guy, or he's going to be rescuing uh, Martin Freeman and his baby. But as the movie goes on, you quickly see who Vic and what he really is, and he's not a good guy at all.
No, yeah, it's actually I did like that stuff because his whole I haven't seen too much of this, but he's kind of just trying to set himself up for the future, right?
Yeah,
So he's like trying to gather resources for himself. He's trying to trap the indigenous tribes, I think,
yeah,
and I'm not sure if it's for their resources or for him to get them to work for him, that kind of stuff. I was kind of unclear on that.
yeah. That I remember I was reading after I watched it, and I guess his so-called wife, who was with him, isn't actually his wife. She was also
Right.
being held there against her will. So I think Vic's original wife may have died, so he was kind of filling that void and having her there.
Right. Yeah. There's a good scene of him like bringing back pearls for her, giving her a kiss, and then she immediately takes it off. And it's
Yeah,
like, oof, she does not like this dude.
the most like emotionless expression on her face, like, "Oh, thank you for the pearls." And,
Well, the most emotionless face of her is when she gets shot by
oh
him
yeah,
later.
that
It was very, I was like, she didn't even, it's like, I don't even know if she screamed no or anything, but she just like kind of slowly jaunted to put her hands up to block the shot, and it
yeah
got her
that
right in the heart.
yeah I found that kind of, I was like, yeah, that's wasn't the most realistic uh, death scene,
Yeah,
but
I just felt like the actor just didn't try. I was like, wait, shot. I was like,
oh
oh, okay,
no,
you could have
don't
sold it a bit
shoot.
more. Yeah. All right. Like, how did you feel about? We already kind of touched about the zombies, but like, I'm trying to think of like what other zombie characteristics there were. We know they bite people. We know that like Toomey's character put like a stick of wood in like his father's mouth to kind of keep him okay, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I found like the interesting thing is they need to hibernate, and the way they do that is they kind of just go into dark place and put their head up against the wall.
yeah, they're like bats, really. And
Yeah, I've never seen that before. I was just like, ah, that's kind of interesting. Is like they don't like you have like fresh humans right next to them, but when they're inside in the dark like that, it's like they don't give a shit.
yeah, it's like, no, you're good. I'm going to sleep this one off.
Yeah, I thought that was like super interesting. And then Martin Freeman does that later. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a bold move.
it's a bold move. He was very brave, although he completely messed up his shot.
Yeah,
So
I
I was like, come on, man. You had the drop on him.
yeah, I was surprised he waited until the last one to try and surprise him. Like you would think maybe he would wait, or he would pull his gun on him when he's a few zombies down, and he could easily just get a shot off. Because
Yeah.
I think Vic only had some sort of like hammer melee weapon and was just bashing the zombies in the back of the head. So
Yeah, exactly.
he easily could have just turned and fired the 2 shots off. And
well, Martin Freeman, like he's not always capable in films. You know this, like, he's not Dr. Watson in Sherlock.
Nope.
He's not that kind of guy. Speaking of Dr. Watson and his accent, let's talk about Martin Freeman's Australian accent. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't like bugging me or anything, but you could clearly tell that it obviously wasn't his real accent.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was bad either, but I also thought, I was like, he's sounding kind of weird today. And I didn't know it was set in Australia right away. So I was like, isn't he usually British? Why is he talking like this? And then I was like, okay, well, in the MCU, he has the American accent. And then I was like, okay, wait, no, this is definitely Australia. I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. He's a great actor. It just really caught me off guard at first. I'm like, I don't know if this is working, but I eventually just forgot.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like going back to the Spider-Man. Maybe you'll notice it for the first 5 minutes, but then it's an afterthought after that.
Yeah, totally. Is there any other bits that actually, you know what, before we kind of get into like, the final bits of the movie here, how did you feel about the whole indigenous tribe stuff? Like they had a lot of interesting ideas of like healing through like spirits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, putting people in trees and things like that. How did you feel about all that?
I mean, it was interesting. I like how they used the white paint or something to kind of hide their scent from the zombies. So I thought that was cool. And so were they putting people who had died in the trees? I can't remember actually.
Yeah, they basically put all the people who died in the trees to like, and I could be getting this all wrong. Again, my whole week's been a blur, but it seems like they tried to preserve this spirit or something like that while it leaves the body. Something along those lines, I think. I could be getting this entirely wrong, but it has something to do with that.
Or maybe if the other zombies don't eat them, or they kind of want to maintain the body. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I was getting a more spiritual vibe from the whole indigenous tribe stuff. They're not giving many lines, unfortunately, in this movie, but they do have a lot of that, like, what's a better word than spiritual? No, I'm just going to use it, spiritual.
Yeah.
They have a lot of that stuff going on in this movie, which is very interesting in their ideas. I really like the end of the movie as well, with
me too.
Martin Freeman's character holding the baby and like, being lured by this stick of meat kind of thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where they were going with that. And even because at first I thought he was just burying his head in the sand because he was digging that little hole. I'm like, is he just going to shove his head down there and call it a day? But no, that was actually really cool. And it's definitely an idea, at least me personally, I haven't seen in other zombie films.
Yeah, definitely. Also, even the digging stuff. Like, I don't think I've really seen like the whole like the symptoms of turning into a zombie is like digging and like whatever, like obsessive digging kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was funny that I just kept laughing because like he just kept having like his weird like seizure-ish moments when going down, and then wax and honey in his eyes. It's like, okay, he's clearly turning.
He's like, oh,
and then he's just
here
like,
we go again.
Right, put the baby on my back. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I'm like, where are you going with this? But
it's like, come on, man, you're being a little reckless as a father. If you're about to, like, he got lucky at the very end, but I'm like, do you really want to have a baby on your back as you're turning?
Yeah, well, I guess he tried to take all the precautions he could. He tied up his hands or put those like plastic
those zip tie stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I was drawing a blank on that word. And then he put in a mouth guard, and I think he put on some safety glasses or something.
Yeah, he had a bunch of stuff going on with him. And then he walks, the imagery of him walking with Toomey on his back, or Toomey, was it on his back too?
Yeah.
I think, or she was on his back. Same with the baby, and then like the stick of meat, and then like right before they like end him, she just kind of teases him with some perfume.
Yeah. It's basically what I look like walking home from the bar with a shawarma at 2 a.m. pre-lockdown.
Yeah, and then someone just stakes you in the heart right before you get to eat the shawarma.
Exactly. That probably would happen in the Rita Street McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, any final thoughts on this movie? Any final favorite moments, or just yeah, final thoughts at all?
I would say my favorite moment was probably the end when they were on his back and leading him with the meat stick. And I mean, I guess depending on your point of view, the film does have a happy ending, I would say. And even that he wrote "thank you" on his baby's chest. And
and it's interesting because if you had the time to write "thank you," like I feel like he could have done anything else, but it's okay. I was thinking like they ended in such a way that there is somewhat of a hope, it sounds like, of like finding some sort of spiritual cure to the entire thing, but they leave it open-ended. And I was reading that they were talking about like the success of the film and how people really liked it and where they would go from here if there was a sequel. No plans for a sequel, but they said they might extend the universe a bit. And, you know, classic examples of like, oh, the baby character is now older kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or the just let's find like a completely different group of people to follow in this universe. And I'm like, you know what? This world is interesting enough that I would see more stuff from here.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, they left it open-ended, like you said. And I mean, if they ever wanted to do a sequel, I'm sure they could.
Yeah. What I like about the movie is like it's not like about this guy trying to find a cure for himself. It's mostly him trying to find someone to take care of his baby.
Yeah, just basically trying to survive and have his family survive. Yeah.
The final random thought that I just wrote down, because I wrote a bunch of notes down, but we pretty much covered it all, is I found it really funny. Like he makes it to like the hospital area, which is kind of like a school classroom with like a ex-teacher acting as like the first aid. And Martin Freeman comes there and she's like, all right, come over here. And you think she's going to do something to like really help him with his like zombification, but she puts a Band-Aid on his forearm and that's it.
I mean, I guess resources were tight, or maybe the Australian government cut their funding too.
I mean, I'd be pretty mad if I like traveled pretty far to be like, okay, we just got to make it to this like first point here. And maybe, just maybe they will help us enough to cure this or me to feel a lot better. Nope. Band-Aid on the forearm.
Yeah. That's all you get. That's all we can do.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, let's rate this movie here. How would you rate this movie?
I would say 6.5 first aid kits out of 10.
Wow. So the first aid kits being the Band-Aids or the kind of suicide knife?
The
draw.
Suicide knife things. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was good, but like you said, I wasn't blown away by it. So 6.5 would be my... It was average.
Yeah, like I did like it because it was different, but I think you have to know what you're getting into, right? Like if you're coming into like get spooked, then this movie is not that. This movie is more like character driven. But if you're looking for like I wouldn't say there's any like particularly scary moments. So anyone who's kind of like squeamish when it comes or scared of, horror movies and zombies in general, like this movie is definitely watchable for those people, I think.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really go into the, again, like chasing after you and like, oh my God, there's a whole zombie wave and all this other stuff. It's not that type of zombie movie. It's not Train to Busan.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Certainly not that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kyle, thanks for joining us on the cast and
Thanks for
making us
having
watch
me.
Cargo. I love Martin Freeman, so
Yeah.
even if this movie's average, and I would say, yeah, it's average, but I did not hate it, so that's not a slight on it.
Yeah, it's
for
definitely
sure.
worth a watch if you haven't seen it, I'd say.
Yeah, but it's not a bad movie, and it's quick too. It's like an hour and 40 minutes,
Yeah,
so it's easy.
easily watchable if you're not training the dog.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised I remembered all this by training a dog, although I feel like I missed a huge point of like the spiritual stuff because I was not paying attention enough, but that's okay. Hey, I think we hit it all.
Yeah, I think we checked off all the boxes.
Yeah. Kyle, can you plug anything for the people at home?
Well, I don't personally have anything to plug, but I actually did watch a movie this morning on Netflix, which I think would be perfect for your Spooktober, is Vampires versus the Bronx.
Oh my God. And was it great?
I really liked it. It's like a comedy horror. Just came out on Netflix on Friday, and there's what's his name? Shea Wiggum.
Oh yeah.
So he's in it. Method Man's in it. Zoe Saldana's in it for
Wow.
a bit. But basically, it's exactly what the title implies. These vampires are in the Bronx, and basically the neighborhood has to fight these vampires.
Okay, this does sound amazing. I'm gonna check it out.
And it's very quick too. It's like an hour and a half long. And so I watched it while I drank my coffee this morning and set my fantasy football lineups.
Beauty.
And
freaking love it.
It's not scary or anything, but has kind of scary vibes to it. But it's more comedy, I would say, and it's definitely fits the October vibes.
Excellent. Well, keep it spooky out there, friends. Watch all these spooky movies on a whole month wave of amazingly Halloween-themed episodes in the PodCaverns. You can find the rest of the shows in the PodCavern at www.podcavern.com. Now, Kyle, I'll send it back to you. Do you have a famous catchphrase you want to say to the people?
I'll say, I can't believe I ate the whole thing.
All right. Have a wonderful, spooky first week of October, everyone. We'll see you on another episode of Talking Tongue next week. Bye. Ooh.